Manana Jesus, good morning and welcome to the 38th Guam Legislature, the People's House, and thank you for being here this morning. This morning we will be conducting a public hearing on the budget request from the Office of the Attorney General, and so thank you all for being here. This morning's budget hearing is conducted by the Committee on Finance and Government Operations and is called to order at this time 0902 on Thursday, May 7, 2026. First notice of this public hearing was disseminated to all senators and media outlets on April 3rd, 2026, with its second notice disseminated on May 5th, 2026. These hearing notices were also made available on the Guam Legislature's website, our legislative calendar, and the Government of Guam's public notice portal. The committee will hear testimony on the following bill on the agenda. Bill number 266-38, Committee on Rules, by request of Magaʹhågan Guåhan, the Governor of Guam, an act making appropriations for the operations of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30, 2027, making other appropriations and establishing miscellaneous administrative provisions. The focus of this session hearing, once again, is the budget request of the Office of the Attorney General. At this time, I'd like to welcome my colleagues who are joining us this morning. Senator Tello Taitigui, who is the oversight for the Attorney General's office. We have Senator Sean Gumatauto and Senator Jesse Lujan. Thank you, colleagues, for joining me this morning. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone in attendance of Legislature Guåhan's general rules of conduct. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chairperson before speaking and shall state their full name for record-keeping purposes. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance and the nature of the bill that's before us. Personal inferences as to the character or motive of any senator or individual testifying is not permitted. The chairperson of the committee may order the removal from this hearing of any member of Legislature Guåhan public audience who fails to observe decorum pursuant to the 38th Guam Legislature Standing Rules. Any violation of the general rule of conduct will result in immediate removal from this public hearing room. With that, we'll now proceed to the bill on the agenda, and I will recognize our Attorney General, Attorney General Guåhan, to make an opening statement. But before we do that, General, are you having all of your members that you've brought forward seated with you to testify today?
Yes, they will all be answering questions. I will be making the opening statement, and then maybe the Chief Prosecutor will make a short comment as well.
Okay, so in that case, we'll have all of you rise, and anyone that may be supporting, that may testify, please rise. It is customary and our rules to have folks sworn in for public hearings that involve fiscal matters. Sergeant-at-Arms, please proceed.
Under penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you, Sarge.
you may proceed.
Appreciate you. General, please introduce your panel or have them introduce themselves, however you want to do it, and then proceed with your opening statement and your budget request. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, stand as I'm doing this, just for the opening statement. Thank you.
Sure.
Hafaday Chairman Chris Duenas, our Oversight Chairwoman Tello Taitigui, Senator Jesse Lujan, as well as Vice Speaker Tony Ada and Senator Sean Gumatauto. To my left, I've brought today to the testimony on Bill 266-38 our 4D Child Support Director, Sophia Geisner, Deputy Chief of Staff, Ana Nicole Perez, Comptroller Dulcie Taladoc. To my right, I have the Chief Prosecutor, Curtis Vandeveld, Deputy Neil Bonavita from the General Crimes, and Deputy Lee Miller, which handles our solicitor's work. Thank you for this opportunity to appear before you today in order to explain and to justify why we believe that essentially a $1.6 million increase in our budget would be appropriate. And I am assuming, and I don't want to be presumptuous in that assumption, that we would be able to maintain our $1.6 million in lapses, which we believe are justified based upon the unique circumstances of what the Attorney General's office is and what this elected office represents and can do for our legislature and our people of Guam. Briefly, as you know, the Attorney General's office and the Attorney General is an elected constitutional officer created by the Congress in 48 U.S.C. Section 1421 GD1 and regulated by Guam law, including to the extent that it's a democratic office, like yourselves. And I do want to acknowledge and appreciate our oversight chairwoman and every senator in the last budget hearing that allowed the elected Attorney General, which was created in the 1998 congressional legislation, the ability to put together a team in order to do the people's work. Unlike other departments, the Attorney General's office is the chief legal officer of the government of Guam, and that's that magic language that Congress created, but also is the chief law enforcement officer for our people. Unlike other law firms, the Attorney General's office is the only group of lawyers that can enforce our criminal laws. No other private law firm, no other entity on Guam has that austere duty to do that. In asking the question why we should be funded, I think, and I've done a little bit of dramatic effect, my team has put this together. We wanted to dumb it down for us and for everybody listening to us, that those words, who you gonna call, affects all parts of our lives, whether we're elected leaders, whether we're judges, senators, governor, but more so every person in our community. When faced with a problem, whether in your personal life or in the public life that we're holding here, lawyers are always the people that are the technicians and logisticians in order to solve legal problems, from child support problems to divorces to even the disposition of property in our lives. A lawyer is always the key to understanding what the rules are, and we are a nation of laws, as we all know. From the Attorney General's office perspective, there's 8 divisions that I've created that, by definition, tell us all the importance of the Attorney General's office. We have the General Crimes Division. We have the Government Corruption Division, which I would kind of dovetail into the news article about how the legislature is now going to delve into the $22 million on trying to identify where that money went. The Child Support Division, our Family Division, and that Family Division is a closed proceeding but deals with literally every voter's life in some way, because they're the ones that deal with the raising of children, if kids are being brought into the Department of Youth Affairs or the police department on some juvenile matter, to kids being taken away from their parents because of the meth epidemic that's going on right now, to the Solicitors Division, which is going to be a big part of our conversation, I think, today on what will happen if we fund or do not fund the AG's office. The Civil Division, which I like to call the protectors of the public interest. Those are the ones that step back away from representing government departments and look at those bigger questions like the hospital, for instance. Is the right of the governor to be the chief executive interfering with the right of the Guam Legislature to appropriate money and to decide key questions about the type of debt that the people of Guam will incur? To consumer protection, and right now with the Iran war going on, we're very concerned about the gas prices in Guam's unique location, isolated location, and how the gas prices are affecting each one of us, not only on the fuel that we put in our vehicles, but also what's going to hit us next is the residential power rates, in addition to the commercial power rates, which the government and you senators will need to be possibly appropriating more money to pay for the fuel, because we're still in that problem area. To the Appellate and Writing Division. These 8 divisions of the Attorney General's office sum up what exactly we do for our people, for our government, and what we offer, and why we believe, why I respectfully submit the $3.2 million, which is 1.6 allowing for our lapses, and then 1.6 additional. Other things that I'd like to highlight, as a law firm, every lawyer, and this is applicable also to the doctors, the physicians, and the accountants. I've heard the public auditor talk about how difficult it is to not have enough accountants. And again, the $22 million investigation that is about to be conducted by the legislature It's driven by yourselves as senators. It's driven by the accountants, being the certified public accountants that are able to take the numbers and to show what's happened with the money, to the attorneys at the end of the equation to process it and to see what laws may have been broken or may not have been broken. In our summary here, I respectfully submitted into the record, and it was put together by my staff, showing you senators, as well as our people, what 12 months of funding us has given to our community, to our client. And I guess that's where we differentiate from other officials that have come before you. The elected Attorney General isn't under the governor. You senators made the elected Attorney General directly accountable to the people. But as an attorney, as with a doctor that has a patient, an attorney has a client. There's no way around that. And the elected Attorney General is no different than any private attorney. It's just that my client is all of us that are in this room and all of us that are out in the community. But no difference that there is a client. In the AG's office, the top principal attorney is that elected Attorney General, and may dovetail into some of your questions later. I am the ultimate unclassified employee. I am the ultimate temporary employee, and my term is for 4 years. The attorneys that are under me are expensive. And because of the economic curve, with fewer attorneys in a community, the price goes up, supply, demand. There's no difference, even on the meth industry. It's always driven by supply and demand. I don't care if you're a communist or a capitalist. There's a reality in life, and that's the reality. In the State of Judiciary address on May 1st by our Chief Justice Catherine Merriman, what caught my ear was that word, dwindling. Dwindling attorneys. And this has been known since 2022, that Guam doesn't have enough attorneys. Now, most of us would say that's probably a good thing, right? Attorneys cause trouble. Attorneys are the ones that are usually behind a lot of trouble. But the point is, when we look at it from a constructive point of view, that the attorneys in the AG's office, because there's not enough attorneys on Guam, and again, recognized by our Guam Supreme Court since 2022, and nothing has changed, and in fact, I believe it's gotten worse, to bring those attorneys into Guam, and that's the primary source for the last 3.5 years that I've been the Attorney General, it costs our people more to bring them in than you would normally have if we had sufficient attorneys. But that's not the end of the equation, that it's costing more. To find the attorneys, and all you need to do is open the newspaper. It is shocking to see, as I was growing up in the 1990s and so forth, to see Guam's quality of life is, and I use that word, it's literally, excuse the language, it's going down the toilet. It really is. The question, what do you do at night anymore? What do you do with your loved ones in order to enjoy Guam? Going to a beach is not simply enjoying Guam. DFS, the Agaña pool, the going into every village and seeing all those junk cars all over the place, seeing all the meth addicts that are either in stolen vehicles or in now bikes running 24/7 committing crimes. And we've seen that recently with the GPO incident, with the Korean murder, the Korean tourist murder. The quality of life is going down. So how do you sell to attorneys on the mainland that have all these resources to bring these attorneys in? That's been the problem. To find the attorneys, to recruit them into Guam has been a tremendous problem for the Attorney General. I literally, every morning at 7 o'clock, am interviewing people from the states because I have an amazing team that has hit every state, every bar throughout our United States in order to recruit them. And our numbers show it. We have been maintaining, and currently we have 30 attorneys. We need at least 50, but in order to do all the work required of us, we need 96. Okay, so what do you do when you don't have enough money, you don't have enough attorneys? You got to think outside the box, and I will respectfully submit that we have done more with less. And I do get it. I understand money is difficult to appropriate, and you got to justify it. So, attorney, paralegal, investigator, law clerks. Then you got the materials, the supplies, the rental office space. All that goes to a figure that we're going to ask for. We've asked for it. And thank you, Senators, for the last budget year. We're able now to have an Magaña office down here. And I believe, I saw the public auditor the other day, and I said that I believe that the Attorney General's office pays the most rent of any department in this government. We have about 163 to 170 staff, and we're located in 2 different offices now, the ITC and the old Bank of America, Bank of Hawaii building. In the equation of being able to hire an attorney, and as you senators are aware, management is very difficult, okay? So what is the easiest way for me to relate this? Why is it that President Trump, they tried to convict him for the 2 years before he became president again? And why is it, and the president answered this question, why is it that everybody's trying to kill him? Literally, our president of the United States. The president's answer to that question was, he was bringing in what the people wanted. He's making change. And when I ran in 2022, I promised to make change. Elon Musk summed it up when he said, we're effectuating the will of the people. I make no bone about it. I am not an attorney general that keeps quiet and doesn't give an opinion on things. I think that the free expression and the ability to freely talk brings things to the top of like our billboards, it brings things to the top of the forefront, and it causes, frustration is a word, it causes an uncomfortable feeling when you see those billboards. In the brochure, my team literally put in, and I think we identified 26 distinct billboards that were put out there, covering that scope of the 8 divisions that I was talking about. These are not just criminal billboards putting criminals up there. They talk about parent-child relationships. They talk about the education function of the Attorney General to our client out there, the Moylan Minute, the problem with the meth in our epidemic that's going on right now, the homeless, the panhandlers, the problem we're having with non-U.S. citizen criminals. This is the type of comprehensive coverage the Attorney General's office provides to our community, and this is the basis in which we are respectfully asking to maintain the money that was given to us, and then also to have $1.6 million. Now, one of the problems with not giving us the money so that I have money in the bank, at least I'm assuming that, and now hearing that there's possible moving around by the governor and the administration that we really didn't have the money in the bank, you can't make a phone call and recruit an attorney without having money to pay that attorney when they come in. One of the things that we're probably going to get into, not only has, since this whole medical complex issue has come to the forefront, the governor has intentionally interfered with my ability to spend the 2026 appropriation. Carol Bolas is on the verge of suing the people of Guam and the Attorney General's office, and she's an attorney that I hired back in 2023 and under contract, helping out our child support division, many of the people in child support who are here. She literally stopped providing services, I think about a month to 2 months ago, because we had owed her, I believe it's in excess of $100,000. Literally, this person has been working since 2023 under that same contract and is now no longer providing services to our client and the child support custodial and non-custodial parents and the kids, but literally is going to be suing us. So I'm going to have to take one of the attorneys, one of the civil attorneys in my office, go into court, attend the hearings in order to get the money that you gave us. So we've got logistical issues where we may, and by the way, I think our lapses, the projection right now, I believe is 13 million, about 13.6 million that we're projecting to burn up. But even that money is going to turn out to be a lapse, because if the Department of Administration doesn't pay these people that are owed the money, then we're going to have more of a lapse. So I'm assuming, best case scenario, we'll have 1.6 million in lapses. I can't hire the lawyers that I need without 1.6 million, so it becomes a chicken before the egg argument, And I respectfully ask that you put the money in our account so that I can go start October 1, continuing to make my phone calls so that I can bring the lawyers in. What you'll also hear, by the way, for our investigators, we've been working with you senators to ease up on the post rules so that we can bring in more law enforcement type officers, and I know that's a big discussion in Guam Police Department not having enough people and so forth. So I would respectfully ask our senators to please consider the environment in which this Attorney General has been operating. Realize that just because I hire somebody doesn't mean that they're the best of the best, and to work in a controversial law firm, and I respectfully put it on the table, this is a controversial law firm. If you want to work for Attorney General Douglas Moylan and my team here, you need to be strong enough, you need to be dedicated enough, and I use that word dedicated. All of you senators, the governor, the mayors, you hire people in your office that will support you, will fulfill your promises, and yes, will vote for you if asked, do you support this Attorney General? Do you support this senator? Do you support this governor? Everybody up at Adelup right now, if they were to be asked a question, do you support this governor, and they said no, you're fired. I'm sorry. I've been here 35 years as an attorney. I worked in all 3 branches of government. I've sat in the Legislative Council's office for 6 years in the old building. When you work for an elected leader, no question, because how can we do what we promise during an election without having a staff of dedicated people that aren't going to look at you sideways and say, I don't agree with you, Mr. Attorney General. That goes up to the attorney level. If you don't agree with the Attorney General, then don't work in his law firm. If you don't agree with the doctor, don't work in the doctor's clinic. If you don't agree with the accountant, don't work in that accounting firm. We're professionals. The attorneys to my right, we are answerable to the judges. We can be ethically sanctioned. And you've got an Attorney General here that doesn't need this job. I don't need this job. Every attorney on Guam, I think it's what, $500 an hour now to hire an attorney? I could be making my retirement just working for 2 years in our public. All the government departments that are hiring attorneys right now in their private contracts, those sorts of things, that's the discussion that's going on because we don't have enough attorneys. So everybody here at this table, we're not getting any richer because we're going after those meth addicts. We're not getting any richer because we're going after the panhandlers. We are public servants in the true sense of the word, and I thank all my staff. And I sent out a very blunt email just the other day, and I copied it to everybody. And for all those guys that think they can leak information out of a law firm, leak that one, because I called it like it was. Don't work for this law firm, because all of us are together helping our community. And I thank each one of these people that take the time today. And yes, they are being paid for the medias. They are on government salaries because they are protecting their right to come before you and express their productivity for our community as an elected law firm for the people. So with that, I apologize, I'm a little bit loquacious here, but I think that needs to be said, and I'll submit at that. Thank you.
Tusmasi, Attorney General Moylan, I want to once again recognize those that have joined us before as we opened. Vice Speaker and Vice Chair of this committee, Vice Speaker Tony Adat, thank you for being here. Senator Perez, thank you for joining us as well. Just a few comments from myself before I move to my colleagues. First of all, thank you for attending the pre-budget hearing so that we could get an idea of where things are. Just to be clear, because I want the other senators, if they haven't researched this yet, to kind of get an idea, maybe as part of their questions. So general, and we're just going off the CRER right now, which is really the only thing we can use, and it's a document produced to track revenues. So in fiscal year 2025, your actual lapses were 5,882,780. For 2026, as of March, was 5,200,158, and then I believe you represented when you came before the committee in pre-budget was your intention is to bring that down to 2 million going forward somewhere.
I believe
around
1.6.
Okay, to 1.6. Okay, So we'll watch that progress. And then the request, as I can see it, just so that we're clear, sometimes this becomes a question, and maybe I'm just going to start with this so that it's not confusing to other senators. What looks to be very productive is in fiscal year 25, your level at federal match under child support was just about $4 million. And then it went up to $4,250,000, so a slight increase, but of course respectable at that, with 250,000, about 255,000 more. And then we see a very handsome movement here, and maybe I'll just get that on the record real quick with the Child Support Division at 1.9 million increase in federal match, bringing your grand total to 6.194. That is federal funds for Child Support Division. Can we just make sure we get that on the record so that my colleagues understand that that's not a general fund increase, but it's an increase of what you've been able to acquire for the purposes of federal match and administering the program. Can we just get that on the record?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Dulce
we keep a record.
Velado.
Okay,
I'm
thank
the
you.
acting controller for the AG's office. So for the federal match, we for 2026 we have 2.2 million, and then for 2027 FY2027 we asked. Of course, there's an increase because our local funding is also increased. So it goes to 3 million for FY2027 for our child support.
Okay, so your anticipation is, though, to get the 1.9 additional for the administration of the program?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Other than that, I would just reiterate once again, just as a benchmark of where we are for our colleagues, and we like to go through this budget digest in the general numbers so that also we have a primer. So your fiscal year 2025, and this is basically how you closed the year in 2025, of expenditures and encumbrances was $20,489,000. Your fiscal year 2026 authorized level is $26,656,337. And of course, you did have increase, like I said, slight increase in federal match. Your fiscal year 27 request is $30,268,281, with a variance from the 27 level to the 25 actual expenditure of 9.778 million, and a variance for 2027 request versus 2026 authorized level of 3.61194. This year we made sure we got the reserve released so that there's no question about what the governor's office is requesting for your office, so that we benchmark what the legislature is going to finally do in the final analysis versus the request. The governor's request for 2027 is $22,126,000 with a variance of $8,141,000 to the negative to the Attorney General's office. So we just need to put all those numbers on the record so we kind of know what we're talking about in terms of the prior going forward. So my understanding is that because of the federal match increase, where we land on the actual request for the 3.6 is really an attempt to build into the budget the lapses carryover, because just so it's clear, we're not singling out the Attorney General's office. We have been found to, and we must now, by the public auditor's reports and the public audits that have been coming out, discontinue the carryover of lapsed funds. That has created a kind of a false premise in terms of funding availability, and it's caused an auditing problem in terms of how agencies can use money, and just skewed the whole budget process in terms of accountability. It's almost impossible, I guess, is what's coming down to take a prior year lapse fund. Let's just use raw numbers for now. You got 10 million here, you were authorized, you only spent 9, you got 1 million left over, you carry that in, you get another 10 million this year, so now you got, 11 million for this year because you carried over that million. Problem is that that's not really what's in the budget, and when you start benchmarking an audit against that, it gets confusing in terms of what are we talking about? Are we talking about this fiscal year and what's authorized as a level? So it looks like what you've done is and I just get this clarification from either your fiscal or you, General, is you've basically said carryover lapses, meaning my request is 3.6 million because I'm putting it in as a general fund request.
That is correct. I understand what you've just indicated there, and I respect that. And I was told that even in the 2026 fiscal year, that we did not get the lapses approved. What happened was, it's just an additional appropriation. So whether we look at it as carrying over the lapses or we just ask respectfully for an additional amount of 3+ million to our budget, that's how we're coming before you today. We're projecting figures midstream, and our projection is 1.6 million we will not burn up, and then we're asking for 1.6 million. So our figure was 3.2, I believe.
Yeah, and that's why I want to be clear that, I think we all just have to make sure that we're making the right representations.
Yes.
And so that way we don't get caught up in the, if you don't give me my prior year. To me, what it comes down to is this is my budget request, which means it sounds to me like what's happening and what you've represented to us is your biggest issue with the inability to spend your money is between yourself and the Department of Administration, not your inability to spend the money. Is that what's here? Is that what's going on here?
Thank you. It's multifaceted, but yes, you are correct in identifying we're running into this problem that we have money given to us and we can't spend it. It's like Pretty Woman, right? I got all this money and nobody wants to sell me anything. But in addition to that, what I just mentioned, the environment for lawyers is difficult for me to spend it, but when I do get it, I've gotten 5 lawyers in within 2 weeks because of whatever, it's freezing in the States, more people are picking up the phone and wanting to move. Whatever the case is, it's just a hit or miss. Sometimes we're getting a lot of lawyers wanting to come over to the AG's office, and so that's another factor. And then the additional one is, as I said, to have a performing law firm and to set a high bar. We got people that come in that just can't cut it. They can't cut working for this office. So they're either going home or I've got the public defender grabbing my lawyers that I'm bringing in. That's shocking to me that I'm bringing in people to Guam and then they're jumping the ship and going on the defense bar side. So that's the type of management issues that I'm dealing with. And again, I make no bone about it. It's hard working for me. I'm not going to hide it because I have a high standard. I want my lawyers to win. Those 89 jury trial wins since I took office, they took a whole team to do that. From the lawyers, the good prosecutors that can convince the jury that this person's a criminal and should be convicted, to the investigator, to the paralegal, to the clerk, to the process officer. That's what I have faced since coming into office. So there's several reasons, Mr. Chairman, that are adding to this move. And when you lose somebody that moves off to the public defender's office or goes back to the states, which I literally have had in the last 30 days, one of our attorneys we brought in for the civil division, he says that, hey, it's tough living here, I'm gonna go back home, So, but what that does to the accountants is it starts making okay, we thought we were gonna spend this month, but then it becomes less, but then I got the money again to hire another attorney, bring him into Guam, that sort of thing. So it's in that backdrop, and I believe Mr. Miller will comment, the chief prosecutor will comment on that. moving figure that I'm experiencing as a manager of the office, trying to give you a straight answer.
Yeah, no, pardon me, I have to do this because there's high visibility on this particular hearing, and so I want to make sure we're clear. Okay, I mean, high visibility on all of them, but you know, there's some contention here, which is fine. That's the process. But I want to make sure we lay the groundwork so that our panel understands, you know, where we are exactly. So that sounds to me, maybe we can go there. It sounds to me like that's contractual on the most part, because your fixed costs, to me, look stable. And everybody, I think here, other than contracted attorneys, is under fixed costs. So I don't see classified service in terms of, at least my initial brush, being affected here. Simply because of the fact that that's a fixed cost as opposed to contractual. Since
last year, we've been hiring unclassified employees, so I think that addresses that okay. issue to some extent. But also, Mr. Chairman, I hired a lot of these people 20 years ago. They literally were still in the office when I became the Attorney General in 2023. Most of them are retirees already. They're talking to me about, hey, I'll stay till the end of your term, but I'm already 5 years past my retirement. I'm going to the States, stuff like that. So, yeah, and that taps our budget, because then it becomes a retirement figure that we're going to be paying, in addition to have to hire a replacement for them. Okay. Yeah, I just, you know, I mean, I want to, if anything I want to walk away with today is that we're going to be stable. We're going to make sure that the funds available to pay the fixed cost of the staff and benefits and associated contractual, which means your office, your utilities, your supplies, everything else. I mean, you're never going to get a no answer on that from myself. I don't believe of any other senator. I think where we'll be looking at and understanding where you're coming from is that essentially the request, so that it's clear, because it can only be one or the other. And the reason why we're setting this hard rule is that so that every agency that comes before us can't say, hey, well, wait a minute, you gave them their lapses, right? So but the idea here is let's be clear, their budget request is an increase in this year's appropriation. If it ends up being somewhere in the neighborhood of what you might have been lapsing, that means that's your new general fund appropriation, not necessarily, so that we're speaking the same language. Correct. And unlike the other departments, like I kind of pointed out, they're not looking for lawyers. We are the central database, the central repository for lawyers. So for every department that came before you, they're not saying we need to go recruit lawyers. I'm the only one saying that. And I need the money in the bank. And that's why, if you look at 2022 forward, we've always ended with lapses. And not only because I don't go into the red personally, I never allow my staff to spend more than we have, but even more than that, we can't spend our money. That's why I say, remember Pretty Woman when she's in that store and says, I got all this money, but nobody wants to sell me something? I've got all this money that you guys have given me through the last 3 years, but I can't spend it because we don't have the lawyers. Yeah. I would love to have a staff of 50 lawyers. Think about what we could do with that. But we don't have the money, or I'm sorry, we don't have the lawyers to hire them. So chicken before the egg. You need to give, I respectfully submit, we need to have the money. And that money, you can't just limit me by what our figures are showing right now, because I can't make a phone call and say, please come in so I can hit my target of 45 attorneys. And that's not even the support staff. When I'm saying 45, I got 30 now. I'm only talking for the next 12 months, 15 more lawyers. We're not talking about the paralegal that I'll have to hire to help that lawyer, anything else. So really, quite frankly, I'm probably looking at maybe 12 more lawyers, and then the rest of the money would be used for support staff, and then the efficiencies that we can create in the office.
So when we're talking about these unclassified, when we're talking about the attorneys, are these contracts that are routed, or are you just able to hire unclass straight away under your signature?
There's two, unclass under my signature. We bring them in under the personnel action, like an employee, and then you have your, like Carabolas' situation was by contract. We have a lot of the retirees that were on contract. There's a few of them that we've hired on contract. That's the one the governor is holding up with DOA, despite having approved it for the last 3 years. It's an intentional undermining of the office.
So I hope to my colleagues and, thank you for your understanding. And I know the oversight chair's been through a number of this. And so I'm going to allow the chair the discretion. Would you like to last or would you like to go now? It's up to you. Okay, so we have done a lot of work in terms of working with your office, and I have asked, very respectfully to my colleagues that we are here to focus on the budget. You are very prolific in terms of your information about what your office is doing. General, I don't think anybody needs to wonder what you're up to. So I don't think we need to be asking about your programs today. We are honing in on the budget, and for that reason, I want to maintain the efficiency of this. And at least unless there's something super compelling, we'll use the clock at 5 minutes for direct questions associated to the budget. Oversight Chair, Senator Talatadigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you start my time, I just wanted to recognize the hardworking individuals at the Attorney General's office. You've put up with a lot of stuff, and it's not just these people in this room, but there's other people outside in the lobby. I was able to see through the door that they're here standing in full support to be here. It really is a very tough position that you're in. You're getting pushed back quite a bit. But you're standing your ground, and that's important because we know that you're fighting for the people. It's all about fighting for the people of Guam and keeping our island, our home, safe. So I just want to recognize everyone. And I'm seeing so many new faces, Mr. Chair, at the Attorney General's office, the younger generation, the next generation that's stepping forward. And you see these individuals sitting in front to teach that institutional knowledge to those who have been here for a long time, and there is quite a bit that are retiring out and leaving island, which is, can you hold off on my thing, just wanted to recognize the Attorney General's office first, so to not put it as my time. We were being timed, so I'm going to try and be as fast as I can on that, but I just wanted to recognize them first, and thank you so much, Adonka Lucy Dusmasi, for all your hard work. Stay the course, stay the course. So the first question I have is regarding the timeline for a review of contracts, because it's not just, fighting crime and having these commissions, child support. You also deal with the government of Guam procurement, and that means also reviewing contracts. So, Mr. Attorney General, can you tell me how many of those contracts that you have to review, and a lot of times were held up because of the Attorney General? Can you explain what this hold is?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm going to have Deputy Lee Miller address that from solicitors.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, in the year beginning April 2025 through April 2026, the Solicitors Division, which is the division that reviews procurements, memorandums of agreement, federal grant agreements, things of that nature, in total received 661 requests for review. We completed review on 418 of those 661 matters, which means today there are approximately 240 open matters. In complete candor, I can't tell you within that universe of 240 open matters, some of those are in the process of dialogue back and forth between our office and the agency. In other instances, the agency initiated a procurement, initiated a review, but has changed direction. And I don't have enough staff to follow up and say, we haven't heard from you in 6 months. What's going on with that file? So in our view, we think today we have about 150 to 175 open, active matters.
On top of that, how many attorneys do you have assigned to any of the other agencies? I mean, this saving the government of Guam a lot of money, this office is, by assigning attorney generals instead of these agencies hiring attorneys.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, the Solicitors Division is currently staffed with 4.5 attorneys. Our half attorney splits time 2.5 days a week. She's working on solicitors' matters. The other 2.5 days, she's supporting our child support division.
And so, Mr. Attorney General, can you tell me why we're having such a hard time keeping the attorneys on Guam or in your division?
For the multitudes that I just mentioned, for the Solicitors Division, well, you got your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, quite frankly. When you have people's lives that are being threatened, when you got the meth addicts, that Mr. Taitigui that was murdered on the road, on social media, body dumped in the middle of the street on a Saturday in Telefofo, that is the type of triage that I'm dealing with as an Attorney General. When you only have 30 lawyers and and you guys were great giving the judiciary 2 magistrate judges and 8 sitting judges and 1 referee for child support, and then you have another referee for the family court. You try doing the math on keeping people safe from the meth addicts. When I asked this governor to lock that port down so that we can have less meth addicts out there that aren't killing us, they're killing us now. All the 2024, all the crimes, the murders in 2024, all had meth on the suspect and the defendant's records. Look at your newspaper. Those 2 guys that were shot in that car a few days ago, meth all over the records. How can you deal with triage and looking at a contract, which is a civil matter, some department head wants to get something done, when you got meth addicts killing us out there? Mr. Vandeveld, who's going to have something to say on this, as well as Mr. Bonavita, as well as half this audience out here, they've been dedicated to keeping us safe. How can I keep you safe when there's only 30 lawyers? I am shifting lawyers to the prosecution function because that is where I have the most important role, is to keep us safe. So his 4 lawyers, his 4.5 lawyers that Mr. Deputy Lee Miller is talking about, that's because we can't get lawyers. I keep on saying it. Try being an attorney in a law firm and not have enough lawyers. These guys in the private sector, try getting a divorce these days and seeing how much money it's costing you and your soon-to-be ex. Try getting a name change and seeing how much the lawyers are charging you out there. It's because there's not enough lawyers in the community. Why is it the public defender is poaching my lawyers? They're poaching my lawyers because I got a great staff that brings them in, and then I get these phone calls that say, hey, I just got a call from the public defender. They're going to offer me more money and less work. We're the ones that drive the criminal justice system, not the public defenders. Those guys sit in their chairs and basically go to work, and then we're the ones that have to wake up on Saturdays to charge these guys that are being arrested. And I kid you not, meth addicts and repeat criminals is why a few days ago you had that, was it 337 million or something from the Department of Corrections? I think that we should all clap and thank everybody behind me. When I came in 2023, that prison was not full. And I was elected because of the meth addicts, because of all the crime out there. These people here come in on Saturdays, burn their butts on Sunday. We literally had to have several in this audience have to deal with the releasing somebody on a 48-hour requirement. The chief prosecutor and I were talking. That's how we're working in the AG's office. No excuses. Find a dedicated group of attorneys and support staff and do our job. But you will get burnout. And I'm sorry, you can't isolate money from an attorney law office. They go hand in hand. The first thing you think about when you look for an attorney, oh my God, do I have savings? Can I pay for this lawyer? Look at everybody in DC when they started indicting everybody. They started losing their houses because first thing you got to do is get money to put on the table. It costs money to have lawyers. It costs money to have doctors. It costs money to have accountants. Anything that we license in this community, it costs money. I cannot, first of all, I'm asking you for the money. I can't guarantee you that I'm going to find the lawyers because Guam doesn't have enough. So, sorry, long-winded response to a question, but I think it has to be said. We don't have enough solicitors because I need my front line being prosecutors. And by the way, unlike the Senate, when we don't appear for a court hearing, you know what happens to us? A nice judge in a black robe says, oh my God, Mr. Moylan hasn't sent a lawyer to my 8 courtrooms every morning. a nice document that all lawyers shiver at called an order to show cause, RE contempt of court. Because the gentleman or the lady in the black robe on that nice air-conditioned courtroom is saying, where's that prosecutor? Because we got a defendant in front of us. Well, that's the question. Where's the prosecutor? I don't have prosecutors because there's not enough attorneys on Guam. And it's a vicious cycle. It's a snowball. You don't have enough prosecutors. What's going to happen to those prosecutors that are manning the front line, that are burning themselves out because they got to give up their Saturday when they've got kids and a wife that want to go out to the beach? I'm sorry, honey. I brought you to Guam, and this Attorney General is burning my ass because he's got to send an attorney in on a Saturday. And it's just not one attorney. When we get, Mr. Vanderbilt, Mr. Bonavita, we get 14 arrests, and in 48 hours, you need to, within 4 hours, process 14 people. 14 defendants have to have a complaint, have to have the affidavit of probable cause, have to have the motion for pretrial incarceration so we don't release a meth addict or a guy that just beat the shit out of his, excuse the language, out of his wife, be released and goes back and finishes it off and kills her. That is my worst fear living in that Attorney General's office, and that's why those guys get it from me when I hear that somebody wasn't able to get arraigned, or I'm sorry, magistrated with a court order to keep them in jail because they're going to go out and kill the victim. So why don't I have enough solicitors? I would love to have enough solicitors. Well, first of all, guys, for 45 lawyers, we need in the prosecution at least 21. I only have maybe 15, 18 prosecutors doing the full scope. I need 21. In the civil division, and that's what brings it up to 96, is the contracts, it's the representation for the Department of Corrections, Parks and Rec, every department that you guys deal with, it was 96 is how many lawyers we need in the office. We're not even close to it. So doing more with less.
Thank you so much for your passion. Go ahead.
If I could, we have 15...
Just move the microphone down and recognize who you are, please, first.
Curtis Vandervelde, I'm the chief prosecutor. We have 15 people in prosecution. In the family division, we have 3 people in the family division. That's the total of 18. We don't have enough people to cover all of the different obligations that we have. I have some very wonderful people who work for me. They work very, very hard. They have no time off. If one person goes on leave, it really puts a stress on the other people who work in this office. They are trying to achieve the objective that the General has set, which is to punish people who commit crimes against our island. And it's our island. We love this island. If we love this island, we respect its laws. There's a lot of people who just don't love Guam. But the General sets a standard, and we are obligated to try to meet that standard. And because he is the client, he makes the decisions. He's the representative of the client. And some people don't like the notion of not being able to make choices of their own. This is a problem. And then we get people who get offers to work for one of the defense firms, and the defense firms are staffed at a much higher level than us. The total number of lawyers between the public defender and the alternate public defender is 24. We have 15. We have the burden of proof. We have the obligation to come in and charge. Mr. Bonavita, as my deputy, works all the time. I work all the time. The people in my office, they come in on weekends, and over a course of 3 weekends, they've done maybe 1 weekend of charging. Some come in for 2 weekends because we're just so taxed. And we have a problem in that the law enforcement reports management system has suffered being down over a number of times so far this year. So that means we gotta hustle, trying to find how we can get the reports so that we can do our job. I'm going to tell you, the governor had refused to sign a contract that I had last year. I think there's 5 months for last year under my contract I was not paid for at all. And yet I still worked. This is not acceptable. These political games, because she doesn't like something that the Attorney General is doing, should not impact upon the ability of this office to complete its mission. Its mission is too important. As you can see, the Attorney General is very fervent about his desire to punish people who commit crimes. And we try to achieve that goal and objective. So he talked about Ms. Boileau and her potential lawsuit. That is why lapse funds are important, because those lapse funds can go to pay in the event that she gets a judgment against the office. They provide for being able to pay for activities, work that was done during the year of the appropriation. We're not asking for you to solve all of our problems. We're just asking to make sure that you appropriate enough money for us to be able to do our jobs and to try to recruit people to do work. As a lawyer who has practiced in this community for 36 plus years, it is difficult to leave private practice and to go to work for the Attorney General, because you have to then abandon everyone that you did work for. People who showed trust and respect for you and hired you. And then we're supposed to just cut them loose like we don't care, it's all a dollars and cents circumstance. That's not right. It doesn't satisfy my heart to do that. I feel I owe more to the people who showed love and affection for me to hire me and to represent them. And so not being able to wind down my practice, engage in a contract with the Office of the Attorney General, when the governor won't sign those contracts, it makes it near impossible to hire people from the local community. In the prosecution division, we have 3 people who have a history living in Guam. In the family division, there is 1. So all of the recruitment for people to fulfill our mission primarily comes from off-island. We shouldn't have these games about getting people's contracts approved. If I'm going to try to recruit somebody locally, and I'm going to tell them they're going to go through the same kind of gamesmanship that I went through, we're not going to get people. It's just not going to happen. And in a dwindling number of lawyers within our bar association, this is a real serious problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both your passion, because we know it's not just the frustration of the attorneys that have to do this extra caseload, but it's the staffs behind you that have to come in on the weekends too. So that's why I greatly appreciate. And are you finally getting your allotments in on time, Attorney General or Lucia? What's the status there? Because that's how you're losing attorneys. They're not getting paid. And how many attorneys you have that left has yet to be paid?
Yes, Your Honor. We have contract that we did in our FP, and then we have hired a legal. Of course, that's part of the contract, but it was not signed. We tried to register it to GSA, but they don't want to register it because there's no signature for, from the governor. So we have the total of 9 legal contract that it was not signed by the governor. So
What is the liability for the Attorney General's office because of this?
Because of that, we have probably around like 325,000.
Wow, that you owe these attorneys.
Yes.
Okay.
And Madam Chairwoman, when I first came into office, I already recognized, as I said, 2022, everybody in the bar already knew there weren't enough lawyers. So what did I do in order to do the job? I didn't come up with excuses. I went to people like Curtis Vandeveld, Carol Ballas, we put them on contract so they could still maintain a private practice, be happy in their private practice, but provide services for the people who are our client. So we've been thinking out of the box for the last 3 years, but what the governor did was she prevented me from touching the money you gave me. And that created the frustration. That's the tipping point that Mr. Vanderbilt's talking about. It's a cycle. If you don't have enough lawyers, you're burning out the ones that are having to work on the weekends. So that's why I'm asking for the amount I'm asking. Thank you.
And you do have a rules and regulations that are being put in place right now. What's the status there?
Good morning, Senators. I'm Nicole Perez. I serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff. We are currently in the AAA process of adopting our personnel rules and regulations. We have our public hearing scheduled for May 18th at 1 p.m.
This will help the agency move forward on some of the questions or the authority given to you. Well, that's good news. Also good news, of course, is just the ability to look at other areas like the Port Authority, like the gouging of prices on this island that the consumers are constantly even calling our office. But I also want to give kudos to you, Attorney General, for assisting former Judge Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, who sits on the commission for the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. She has told me that you actually dedicated staff for that commission, which hasn't been done in the past. So there's so much more behind the Attorney General's office that they have to review on. But how many, and for the big questions, how many attorneys do you have right now, and what is the amount that you do need?
The number that I understand is 30 lawyers we have on staff right now. We would like to get 45 lawyers. That would be what, 3.2 million if it was added to the budget. And of course, I'm incorporating assuming we don't get the 1.6 in lapses. So that is the figure. For 12 months, it's a manageable figure. We will exceed our ability to perform, but it will protect me from losing and burning out my existing attorneys. I get University of Guam, I'm getting a great team. They're young, they're trainable as paralegals. The investigators, we talked about that earlier. We got to deal with post, and we have a fixed number of investigators, but we have started investigator trainees. So in answer to your question, we have 30. I would like to get up to the 40s, 40 to 45, but 45 at 3.2 million, you've already hit the max. I do need paralegals to help them and the support staff.
That's still substantially lower than what the public defender has right now as far as attorneys are concerned, and they don't deal with half of the things that you have to do. So I think you're just being very kind and trying to be frugal, which you have always been with your office, to try and save where you can save. But I do want to also bring up the fact that the area here under classifieds and classifieds, if you look at this printout that was given to, did you get one, Attorney General? Yeah. Did they get one? Yeah, okay. On the bottom part here, it has the amount of unclassifieds, in FY26, and then it looks at your request for the, oh, I'm sorry, it's on the second page. The bottom. Unclassified, classifieds, and it's showing different, you have in authorized was 105, 82, 160, and then in the agency's request is substantially lower. Can you explain that, Lucia?
Well, these are with the authority that was given to me as the manager of the law firm. The classifieds are carryovers from the last 30, 40 years, 20 years is when I was here last. But the unclassifieds is, I guess it's a figure because we can create positions. And it's driven by money, not by classification right now. So I guess that's one answer to the question. The unclassifieds that I'm looking at is at, was it 76? Right. So we got 104 unclassified. I'm sorry? Unclassified currently employed is 104.
It's still showing, 105 for unclassifieds, and then you go to FY2027, and it's 12. Lucia, can you?
Yes. Sorry. When we prepared this since last year. So of course, there is already some attorneys that retired also, or some classified employees that retired, and they already left also with the agency. And we stick with that because, you know, it's takes time to update it every time there is a changes with our staffing patterns.
So we need that changed. Mr. Chair, regarding this section, it does need to be readjusted on this one, right?
We'll send it to you.
Also, there was a letter I sent to your office regarding the leave and et cetera. Can you explain that, Lucia, what you submitted to this, which I will be giving to the chairman of OFB?
Do you want me to explain to you the attachment A or the attachment B?
Well, the request, there were 3 questions I asked, and then you submitted your answers just the other day. Leave, it talks about leave, and yeah. that
Yes.
one.
Okay. So the first question is the spending, the annual leave liability. So right now we have you asked for about the 320 hours and above, and with our staff right now we have 40 total employees that have 620 hours of leave exists, and then the total amount for that is $596,222.94.
There was other questions, there were 3, I believe.
That's yes. And then the second, the other question that you asked is about the spending capacity. So for the spending capacity for the fiscal year 2026. So right now with with our GFMIS expenditure with DOA, the one that they posted, we have around 13 million that is posted already, that we already spent it. So we are projected another 13 million at the end of this fiscal year. And that's gonna be, projecting remaining budget would be our, the lapses that what we're talking about is gonna be 1.6.
Thank you. And the last, the PBB?
8 people from our office. Can we
Okay.
increase that if we needed to?
Okay, okay, absolutely. So, Mr. Chair, that letter is coming to you this afternoon. We received it yesterday, so I'll send it to you. Lastly, and I really hate to put this on your plate, Mr. Attorney General, with all that you have, but there is a movement in technology on AI, cybersecurity, as well as, you know, deep fake media that's deceptive to our community, cyberbullying our children, being bullied, and, you know, unfortunately you find some of them who've taken their lives because of something like this. There's a huge, you know, the task force, of course, that's available. I know that you've been very busy, and I didn't see anything in here on your, can you kind of explain your IT setup down at the Attorney General's office? Do you use your information into the cloud? And I'm definitely going to need your help when it comes to, you know, creating legislation as well as guidelines, definitions on cybersecurity, and how AI is moving into our industry so quickly that we need to make these guidelines for safer for our people, our children, and also protect the jobs of our employees right now. That's very important. So,
Yes, Senator.
any funding that you've put aside for that?
Madam Chairwoman, what we are doing right now, we've got a good team in our IT support. We have not, our system, we just upgraded to e-prosecutor. We're in line with the court and their move to the e-courts and what the former Chief Justice Robert Torres had been presenting to the legislature. So our system has been upgraded after 20 years, and that's an accomplishment by my IT team that did that. The use of AI, and I was kind of smiling when you were saying that, we're in the process of helping out your, I guess your committee for assisting you in that regard. But I have to tell you that I just sent out a memo to all our lawyers. We better not find them using AI on drafting legal briefs. Judge Iriarte made the news with one of the attorneys in the bar for having an attorney relying on the AI and not checking what AI generated for the legal brief that was submitted. You know, we as lawyers, we're supposed to make sure that the documents that we sign are of proper caliber and standard, that it meets the court's procedures and rules. It's a big thing among lawyers right now to supplement your capabilities by using AI software. But so your question to me, am I integrating into the office? I've actually prohibited AI from being used by lawyers because of the fear of getting an order to show cause and having your license sanctioned because you didn't read what AI kicked out. And again, it made a news article. I find that interesting. In the past 6 months, one judge called out an attorney in private practice and was looking to sanction the attorney according to the news article. So, but thank you for the question.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that there's some people in your agency that can actually, you know, generate some type of commission within the Attorney General's office, because it's going to get very big. It's moving forward, and regardless, you know, whatever generates out of AI is what is put online. You know, AI is only as good as that.
Yes,
and if
I
it's
agree
not
with
put
you.
online,
I have to tell you
Yeah.
that probably anyone that's younger than 28 here,
oh no, I would
is
say anybody younger
educating
than
me.
40.
Well, these guys grow up with AI.
Good.
You know, I see, and by the way, don't watch the internet anymore, because the people you think you are alive are actually AI generated, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it is the wave of the future. It is influencing our office. I know on the graphics side, AI has been tremendous, but on the old school legal, we're being very careful. how
Well,
we use AI.
it's more like prosecuting individuals who, you know, defake, put out false narratives on the internet using. If you want your,
Yeah.
yes, please. Do you know anything about? Okay, because
Senator-
that's the one that you need to
Thank you, Senator Tadigui.
to
This-
tread. But
we'll
if
get
he
this
can
response and then-
respond, yeah. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Senator Tadigui.
Yes, my name is Neil Bonavita for the committee's
Sir.
record. That is an emerging issue, yes, ma'am. It certainly is. And while we haven't seen any specific charges come in related to that, we are keeping an eye. It's definitely something that will continue to permeate some of the fraud charges that we deal with, and we'll see overlap in that particular regard. But to your point, to the extent that you need assistance in terms of trying to generate the appropriate rules and definitions so that we can create meaningful legislation, we're ready to assist.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to ask these questions, and of course, give my great thanks to those hardworking individuals at the Attorney General's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Tadigui. At this time, I'll recognize Senator Gumatauto.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to AG Moylan and the entire Office of the Attorney General that has made their way down to the Guam Congress building. I'm just going to jump right in and talk a little bit about GPD. Attorney General, during the Guam Police Department's April 27th, 2026 budget hearing for FY2027, I asked the Chief of Police, Stephen Ignacio, how GPD's engagement with the Attorney General's office has been relative to the provision of legal services for his department. Now, on the record, Chief Ignacio replied that while he was thankful for your continued assistance in designating a lawyer from the AG's office, multiple lawyers have, for at least the last 6 months, started at the department, but eventually resigned and accepted employment elsewhere. Now, I will say that during the public hearings for the body cam policy that was created by GPD, I got to meet one of your attorney generals, and was good to see them support of GPD. So I just want to get your take on this, recognizing that he just stated last week that he's still advocating for an in-house legal counsel who would work with the Attorney General's office. Would you support at this point authorizing GPD to employ and pay for an attorney who is appointed by the AG, and their scope of work would be defined by your respective office?
Thank you for the question, Senator Gumatauto. Let me preface my response by saying that Steve Ignacio is a friend of mine. We have worked well for the last 3 years together. As a lawyer and in a position that Congress created, there can only be one Attorney General. The people only have one legal representative. That was made clear by Congress when it said the Attorney General shall be the chief legal officer of the government of Guam. Since when does the Attorney General that took the election, advertised his legal policy to the people, allow any other lawyer into the government of Guam so that lawyer can set legal policy, can decide legal questions, can give a legal opinion to any government employee without having been endorsed by the people of Guam? So it's with respect, but with the legal acumen to say that the system has not been elevated to a constitutional level to allow Chief Ignacio the ability to hire his own Attorney General. If he needs an Attorney General, and which has always been the course, he asks the elected Attorney General, I don't care who it is, me or some other person, please assist us. And in this, money, attorneys, they go together, hence why I'm here. Mr. Sermons, Attorney Sermons is under the Solicitor's Division and is providing the services. He's the one that appeared before the body cam public hearings. He put together all the logistics of it. That's how the system works. 3 reasons why Attorney Generals throughout the United States and all states, to my knowledge, and territories now have elected Attorney Generals. First reason, protect the public interest. Second reason, create uniform legal policy. How would you guys like it funding Department of Revenue and Taxation fighting against the Department of Parks and Recreation or Department of Administration? Here, you guys, here's a $200,000 attorney for you, and here's a $200,000 attorney for you. Go to town and go create years of litigation in the Superior Court and the Appellate Court and fight among yourselves. It's like a dysfunctional family. That was the second point. Create uniform legal policy. That's why you have one Attorney General. Third point, how would you like creating many law firms throughout the government of Guam? Does the chief of the Guam Police Department chief, is he going to hire an attorney, an investigator, a law clerk, a clerk, when you've got the Attorney General's office that has everything? You have economies of scale when you have one law firm, hence my asking for our resources. You have multiplicity of additional budget requests in the millions of dollars to pay for the attorney and support staff for every government department. And get ready for the circus to begin, because it will. When the Attorney General is one attorney for the people, elected, chosen, and then you got Chief Ignacio, who's not even an elected official, choosing to select an attorney. And by the way, the public auditor over the years has come, and I don't want to misstate his statement, he's questioning why is it that the autonomous agencies have their own highly paid legal counsels? Why aren't they using the Attorney General's office? Because the people elected me for 4 years to be their attorney. Those boards and directors are not elected. Port Authority, Airport Authority, you name it. We're hurting ourselves in many different ways, and it's just not money. When you have an attorney pushing the agenda of a cabinet member and not the people agenda.
So Attorney General, you do not support
Absolutely not. And it will be taken into court. And
Okay.
it's not a threat, but I will do what we're in the process of doing.
Okay,
I'm going to
that's-
challenge EPA. EPA has no right to have that attorney they
Hold
just
on,
hired.
because I don't have a lot of time, so I get it.
Go.
But also, for me, as a public safety chair, I just want to make sure that as we are deliberating this budget, that moving forward, that the general orders of Guam's premier law enforcement entity gets the support from the Office of the Attorney General, and no offense, not in words, but in practical support.
Oh, yeah.
The processing of general orders, the support of the contracts, looking to make sure that they're helping train. I know right now they have a GPD guy that's working with their team, but they need the support of the Office of the Attorney General. I'm
Yes.
only asking, the policy's before us, right, AG Moylan? But I'm hoping that after this discussion today, and going into the next fiscal year, that the Guam Police Department gets just that, help. I know that it's been there in the past. Don't want to debate with you. I get it, and you've made those public statements multiple times, but I appreciate
Well, it's more than public statements, and Senator Gumatauta, I will
and
assure
you
you.
testified. No, I understand. I'm not trying to debate it here because I want to just focus on the number. So I'm hoping that we get some support budgetarily for this particular important role of the Guam Police Department. I only have one other question, Mr. Chair, and this is regarding the office rent at the ITC building and the Citadel building in Magaʹhågan. It's a request of $1.7 million. Does the AG's office intend to continue occupying the ITC building for the balance of FY2027? And is the rented space just down the street here, the rented space in the Citadel building in Magaʹhågan sufficient to accommodate approximately 7,000 square feet of office space for human resources and family divisions, which are currently located in Tumani?
There are three functions of the AG's office remaining in the ITC building: child support, family division, and the personnel office. They're on a month-to-month contract renewal, which is, by the way, less than the rent that we would be paying if we were to go into a different location, including this current building there. As you may know, there's some infirmities with that building. The most important one is parking. I cannot allow child support to be in our building when all the moms and dads out there and their kids that come with them cannot see the Attorney General's office child support. That's why a decision was made. We cannot move the child support out of there. Family, it's got a lesser rent right now there. We've maxed out our current space, the fourth floor, part of the fourth floor, all of the third floor. For the remaining 6 divisions are operating out of the building down there. So at some point, we're going to have to look at who's available. We know the PDN's available, but PDN has not good parking. That's why the ITC building, with all that parking in the back, has remained for the moms and dads out there.
Okay, got it. No, listen, I'm just trying to understand this for this budget process. I do appreciate your candor. I do appreciate all of your engagement. And even if we don't agree, but you've been super generous with your time and very, how could I say, honest about the engagement. So the budget process for us is about trying to make sure that you have the resources that you need. But I also, as you can appreciate, you are elected, I'm elected, but we also, as Committee on Public Safety Chair, I just want to make sure that, especially to help support your efforts,
yes,
because you made mention of it about half an hour ago, about that effort to fight crime,
yes,
and the people in this room. So I just want to make sure that the front lines to that are also supported, and I know you do. I'm not going to beat the dead horse, but I do appreciate you, AG Moylan, and your team for coming down to the Guam Congress building today. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Gumatauta. Next is Vice Speaker Ada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to thank AG Moylan and the entire staff of the Attorney General's office for being down here to present your budget. I think we've heard a lot of the things that the Attorney General as the office has done throughout the years, and the budget process as well. Hoping that we be able to come to a good compromise on this budget hearing and how we can continue to support the Attorney General's office. I think perhaps the only question I have, Mr. Chair and Attorney General Moylan, is the continuing support, and Senator Gumatauta has brought it up, not just for public safety, but I think for all the department and agencies that require an attorney from the Attorney General's office, and how is that working, and how are we continue to give those departments and agencies the support that they need with the limited sources that you have, and how do we make it better to increase the support?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Speaker. How we've done it is, well, the first thing is prioritization. So I just want to put on the record, I literally 24/7 take the police officers' calls, including the chief of police, get the briefings, talk to CID, because that's how much criminals and protecting the crime victims mean to this AG. I was elected because of the crime problems. Now, the civil side of where the Chairman Gumatauta had talked about, That's with the Solicitors Division. We're talking about adverse actions, dealing with civil matters. The criminal matters I deal with directly. And my team, the Chief Prosecutor and the Deputy Chief Prosecutor, they're available 24/7. In the past 2 weeks, we literally have been talking to the CID people, let alone that recent double shooting that went on, that's going on. So what do we do when we don't have enough? We don't come up with excuses. We identify the problems, which are money-driven, get money in, and then lawyer-driven, find the lawyers to do the legal work, and we come up with creative solutions. That's why I invite the senators, look at the 2 submissions that we gave. This isn't just colored photos. These are actual work product that we've been doing to try to cover all the needs. We cited earlier, and that's why the quick facts on page 1 of the 32-page handout, it identifies we need 96 lawyers. We're not going to get 96 lawyers in 12 months. I'm looking at 45 lawyers. The Solicitors Division deals with a lot of those contracts. I literally get WhatsApp messages, calls from different departments making their case. We've got a triage situation here. We're going to lose money. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we had Fred Nishihira and I think it was Graham Botham. They worked the entire weekend to help DOE save some of that money. Since that time, I think they have 3 lawyers there, by the way, at DOE. This newspaper article that they've lost so much money for lapsing federal funds, we weren't involved in that, to my knowledge. So what am I doing? I'm, as an Attorney General, elected official like you guys are, answering to the people, hey, if the senior citizens need this and they're going to lose the money, or Manamco are angry, that's where I come in. I talk to the team, Lee, the supervisors and solicitors, and I say, what can we do to move this along? In our website, we have it published, the report of the procurements that Deputy Miller talked about. It's literally on the website. So what do we do when you don't have enough money and enough personnel? None of them, I gotta say, it's not our fault we don't have enough attorneys, and it's not our fault that we don't have enough money, and hence are asking for a small amount of money for the next 12 months.
Attorney Vanderbilt.
Thank you. Curtis Vanderbilt. Part of the problem with having a singular attorney for an entity like the Guam Police Department is that some of the legal issues that that lawyer would deal with, they have conflicts of interest that would occur. And if that one singular person is not available either for travel or health reasons, then there's no one to pick up the ball and carry it forward. Mr. Miller, his division operates completely separate from my division. We do exchange some information from time to time, but for the greatest portion of time, his activities are operated under his control, and I don't know what's going on. One of the biggest problems is we need to recruit more lawyers. Being able to do that requires removal of the requirement for the governor to approve the contracts of the Office of the Attorney General. That will allow us to get more staff for Mr. Miller's division, more staff for my division, more staff for other divisions, and Mr. Miller is very capable about taking a problem if it comes in and assigning it amongst the various people in his division. And when the calls from the police come relative to matters of criminal nature, they come to me or to Mr. Bonavita for resolution. And that keeps the ethical concerns in place, and we protect against any problems that would arise because of that ethical concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Miller, you wanted to make some comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members, I would simply add to what my colleagues have said is I think the simplest, cheapest thing the legislature could do to enhance the efficiency of the procurement process, enhance the efficiency of Guam government agencies being able to act on federal grant opportunities, is if the legislature would direct the executive branch to reinstate the procurement training program for government agencies across the board that has been inactive for quite some time. Our principal challenge in my division in acting on procurements and acting on grant agreements is simply coordinating with the various agencies to get all the documents that are required for evaluation and consideration. And just as we have turnover and I have to train and educate people on what their own responsibilities are, candidly, many of the procurements we get in, many of the grant requests we get in, the information isn't sufficient and isn't organized in a way that allows us to do our job. And I would suggest that inefficiency is largely the product of the lack of training, the lack of education at the agency level. And if the government simply reinstated the procurement training program that used to exist, I think my division could be much more efficient.
Thank you for that, and that's why, I asked, Attorney General Moylan about, working with the different agencies, land management and Chamorro Land Trust. They really need attorneys, and a lot of the issues that are held up are because of the lack of support for their agencies. But I think as we continue to work together and continue to find the solutions and come down to something that will be amicable to both the Attorney General's office and to the different department and agencies, that solutions can be worked out and process and procedures can continue to move forward.
And Mr. Vice Speaker, may I offer this to the senators here today? Allowing us to use the money that you've given us, giving the Attorney General the ability to control our funds from payroll to procurement to all function, and taking it away from the Department of Administration, like you did with the hiring authority for an elected official, consistent with your own, having unclassifieds in the Attorney General's office. Give us the ability to control our money. Your $22 million investigation, I suspect, is because certain officials in this government have not been telling us that there's no money in certain accounts. That's what kind of worries me. Why is it that they're not letting us use our fiscal year 2026 budget, in addition to all these other allegations of possible meandering and slowing us down? Do we really have the money? If you could give us, like the judiciary has, I think the public auditor controls his money. I have a full staff of accounting professionals able to do our own payroll, able to do our procurement, to be answerable to you senators, that we're properly, and to be audited by the public auditor, but to give us the ability to control the money. I think that would be a tremendous help on getting our lawyers quickly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's the only questions that I had for the office. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning.
Susmasi, Vice Speaker Ada. Senator Guåhan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, General, and to your staff, your attorneys, and your staff. Thank you very much. I want to publicly thank each and every one of you as well for the tremendous help that you've provided over the years to our committee. As one that oversees all of tourism, every form of transportation, be it air, maritime, and ground transportation, all utilities and customs and quarantine, federal and foreign affairs, I think our committee on a weekly basis contacts your office and some sort of assistance from these agencies. But thank you very much for that. And I know the overwhelming work that you guys have on a daily basis. I know private attorneys as well, that they take only so many cases and then say, hey, stop because I can't handle it. But the tremendous amount of work that you guys have to undergo as the people's law firm. But thank you very much to each and every one. And no, not all of them are represented here. I'm sure they're back in their offices or the courts representing the people of Guam. And to say thank you again, this is the first budget hearing where we have an overwhelming amount of folks supporting this budget hearing. One thing I'm going to ask Attorney General, and I want to go on record with this. And it's 3 years ago, the Committee on Aviation extended a contract to the Airport Authority, a concession contract based on contract that was expiring, but because of the situation of COVID and Mawar and all that. That contract will be expiring here in July, okay?
Yes.
And it was a contract that was extended by through a public law, through the 37th Guam Legislature. Now, assistance have not been asked by the administration or the airport for a further assistance. I'm extremely worried that we would be in a situation like Saipan is as well.
Yeah.
There's been talk that they're asking this particular vendor to stay until December, okay? And I repeat it, and I will constantly repeat that that contract was extended by the legislature, by law, and therefore, the airport itself cannot extend that contract out because it was not done through their board. It was done through public law.
Mm-hmm.
If, again, that vendor is extended out, are they, again, I mean, would the airport expect a payment from them? And would they be expected to pay past their expired contract if no action is taken by the legislature?
Given the facts as plainly stated, and without getting into it further, without any additional facts, I think the answer is obvious that the legislature controls the airport. It is the people's property. And if the legislature sets the parameter to extend it to a date certain without any ability for the contract to be extended, then they would be subject to investigation by the public auditor and by the AG's office because it's ratepayer, taxpayer-funded types of monies, right? So without getting too into the details of it, as stated, I believe that it would warrant an investigation and then hopefully counseling. And of course, the legislature could do the oversight hearing, establish facts, swear in the witnesses, demand documents to substantiate the fact pattern. But I would believe that under the way you've presented it, that it would be ultra vires, it would be outside the legislative authority. They'd have to come up with a different authority, which you guys have pretty well regulated. I understand the vendor contract. So procurement, they'd have to follow the procurement law. If you gave the legislature got involved, gave a procurement exception for them to the normal procurement law, and didn't extend it any further, then the normal procurement rules would have to be in play, bid out, that sort of thing. So, yeah, that would raise a red flag, and it should cause the public auditor to want to conduct an audit of them.
Well, thank you very much, and I just want to be on record with that, because that is what I constantly repeat. I said, it doesn't look like our intervention is needed, but again, should this happen, just know that there's red flags. But thank you, and that's all really I have, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you very much to your attorneys and your staff for again constantly. I mean, again, on a weekly basis, one of my agencies are needing assistance, and you guys are always there for that. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Thank you,
very
Chairman
much.
Lujan.
Usmasi, Senator Lujan. Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone here. Thank you for all your time and participation. So, in just hearing the testimony that was provided, so your request is for to increase your attorneys to 45. You currently have 30, and I was looking at the budget submittal. Most of them are in the crimes division. So there's additional 15 attorneys. Where would you assign them to?
We need 96, 15 more attorneys. We need at least 21 in the General Crimes Division. The Government Corruption Division would need at least one attorney. Child support, we have one referee. I have one of the attorneys that is helping out there. Family, we probably need at least 3 or 4 of them. So where would I put them? We don't I'm serving as the consumer protection attorney right now with solicitors on dealing with that. We don't even have a consumer protection attorney because we don't have the money for it. So where would we put them? Prosecution would be primary. Then obviously the solicitors is critical towards the functioning of government. So yeah, that's how we would be managing it probably.
Okay. And then in regards to, let's say, environmental, cases.
This was, Senator Perez, thank you for your question. One of our former attorneys was, went to EPA. So EPA has a former Attorney General's office attorney working for them right now. So like the Dehedron claims that have started from GIGO down into the AG's office, the Solicitor's Division is meeting with EPA's counsel for that, because those cases have to be managed with the numbers. I think we're at 300. How many?
Very close to 300.
Right, there's about 300 government claims relating to that Dehedron incident that went up in GIGO area. So.
Okay, thank you. And then, what's the status of the PFAS multi-district litigation, as well as any other litigation that's federally being managed? Is the ORDOT consent decree, that lawsuit, has that been closed already?
Deputy Miller discussed that.
Mr. Chairman, Senator, as you read in the paper, the ORDOT situation continues. It is everybody's hope, including the receiver, that the receiver will fully exit their responsibilities on Guam during 2026. We have an indication from US EPA that they are tentatively on board with that choice. That will leave ORDOT completely under the responsibility of various government of Guam agencies. The litigation over whether the remediation program at ORDOT is correct or not will continue. Separately from that, GWA has a consent decree with US EPA over water quality. GWA is hard at work executing their responsibilities under that consent decree. We see procurements from them on a regular basis that indicate they are doing the various things they are doing in order to meet their responsibilities under that consent decree. So I have every reason to believe that GWA is substantially in compliance with their responsibilities. I think Dieldrin will and PFAS are, I guess I'll describe them as continuing questions at the moment. The United States government has been working on PFAS regulations for a decade, and those regulations are still not finalized. I think...
Actually, they were finalized under the Biden administration in April of 25, I believe, or 24. It was finalized. PFAS was.
I will take your word for it. I will also note that the environmental lawyers, both at Guam EPA and our outside environmental counsel that I speak to, indicate that discussion, I'll just describe it as discussion continues on how to implement those PFAS regulations. But the good news is on Guam, GWA and related agencies understand what their roles and responsibilities will be and are working towards bringing Guam into compliance with the PFAS regulations.
Okay, yeah, and there was a multi-district lawsuit. I believe that was GWA is taking the lead on that one.
GWA is the named plaintiff on behalf of the government of Guam. That litigation continues. I guess the best way to describe it is, sort of similar to the tobacco litigation and the opioid litigation. Practically every jurisdiction in the United States is part of that lawsuit, and there are a wide array of defendants in the suit, and different defendants are reaching different agreements with the collective plaintiffs groups as time moves along.
Okay, so the AG's office is not involved in this, or are you guys involved in it?
We are involved as we monitor and participate in discussions with our fellow attorneys general organizations. But as you know, PFAS is an issue from one end of the United States to the other. All of our colleagues in the other jurisdictions have a similar interest, and candidly, they are taking the lead in how PFAS is addressed nationally.
So your division is in charge of the environmental litigation in addition to procurement?
To the extent that there is environmental litigation, yes, it would be the responsibility of the Solicitor's Division. The large-scale environmental litigation that's going on Guam, we have outside counsel in the states that is principally responsible for that. But yes, on local issues that Guam EPA requires attention for, and to the extent Guam EPA wants to issue citations and those concerns require hearings, we support all of that activity.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that, you only have 4.5 attorneys under your division. You have a huge responsibility, ranging from procurement all the way to environmental. These are historic environmental cases, by the way. The one with the Guam versus United States of America in regards to the ORDOT, the Navy's, I guess, responsibility in the contamination of that site.
Right, that's why Lee just went to the, I think, San Francisco recently to attend some mediation discussions, but the San Francisco attorneys, are they from San Francisco?
Our outside counsel on these historic cases, as you described them, Senator, is the national law firm of Kelly Dry. And we interact with attorneys in both Kelly Dry's Houston, Texas office as well as their New York office.
Right. My understanding, Madam Senator, is that this government is well protected. They're the ones that went to the U.S. Supreme Court and had the favorable ruling. So I believe that category of cases is well taken by a national law firm that's agreed to represent the government.
They did really well with the partial settlement, but there's another phase to this that's really critical, I think. Okay, so in regards to procurement training, yeah, I know there were two bills that were recently introduced. We had a public hearing on them, Bill 300 and Bill 301, to shore up that part of the statute to improve procurement training. One of the issues is the Guam Procurement Advisory Council hasn't, properly met or hasn't met enough times to really give some guidance into this procurement training. The AG's office is one of the members of that council. This is really critical because the two bills are take two different approaches. One is coordination with, the entities that are going to teach procurement, and another one has a bifurcated approach. So where one entity can teach, but what can hold it together is the Procurement Advisory Council. And so this is something that I just maybe, can advocate for this.
Thank you. The governor, through the Department of Administration, has twice convened the members due to open government law notice deficiencies. They had to stop when all the members got together. My understanding is they're in the process of, again, trying to put together the council.
Yeah, so perhaps when you reconvene, take a look at these bills, and maybe there's some recommendations to help strengthen up procurement, because I know with Attorney Brown, he was one of the pioneers, right, of procurement training. And, now we're in a phase where we have to, you know, look at how we're going to unify training, because if we have different entities and different approaches, my belief is that it's going to create complications.
Yes.
So that's one thing. The other thing is, so you were talking about training attorneys and the ProTech Award, ProTech scholarships. You know, I would suggest, you know, meeting, if you haven't already, meet with the University of Guam, the scholarship office, just to maybe reconnect with them as far as ensuring there's a slot or funding for lawyers.
Madam Senator, and I hope I've shared this because we've had other public hearings on this. If you guys can mandate the University of Guam, because I was told that they have the ability to hire or to, you know, I was a ProTech recipient for law, but I think it was 1988, they stopped it for the lawyers. So if the legislature mandated it, that they offer the ProTech for the certain numbers for the legal community, that would be helpful. I don't know of anyone that's gotten since the ProTech.
So basically, we would also budget an amount too as well. If we mandated, we would have to support it by the budget.
I don't want to, I'm not sure how they're getting their funding. They may already have the budget, self-generating. I don't know specifically, but yes, whatever it took, but to mandate that they not select it, but the legislature come in and say that we need more homegrown lawyers. Yeah.
And so considering your need, what would be your projected amount for that?
I would say at least 10.
10
Yeah,
times
10 every year.
Okay. All right. So this, thank you. And so the question in regards to child support, is there a cap on the amount the federal government gives, or it's basically limited by the amount we can match?
Whatever the legislator appropriate, we have 66%, federal share is 66%. So they give 66% and 34% is local.
Okay, so there's no cap on that. Like, let's say
There's no
we were
cap.
to give more.
As long as we spend it, they will give it.
And so have we been spending that amount, or has it been lapsing?
No, we don't have lapse
No
on
lapse
them.
in that
Yes,
one.
no.
Okay. And what is the need? What do you identify as the need with child support? Because right now you
Enforcement
have
officers and attorneys.
Sorry. one more
Enforcement
time.
officers and attorneys. I think 1 or 2 of them just retired, but there's only one referee, but there's so many child support cases. So the enforcement officers assist in preparing the cases. The attorneys, obviously they review it, but a lot of it's guideline driven unless there's an exception.
And so what you have in the budget represents that, the enforcement officers and attorney?
Hi, Sophia Geisinger-Regis. I am the acting director for child support. So yes, the budget does represent the need for enforcement officers as well as attorneys. Right now, we do have, as Attorney General Moylan said, we have 1 attorney in child support along with the help of 1 attorney from solicitors. As far as enforcement officers, we do have 5, with 4 actively in office, 2 on extended leave. And the caseload right now, we have around, one moment. For our enforcement officers as well as paralegals, the caseload is around 1,100 cases each. We have a total caseload as of May 4th at 5,400 cases for child support. Yeah, so each enforcement officer as well as paralegal handles 1,100 cases each. That does not include our 1 enforcement officer who handles off-island cases, and that's at 700, almost 800 cases.
How's that possible? That seems like a lot for 1 individual, 1,100.
When you have 1 referee at the court, it's like the funnel, right? So that's why I'm building up, without having enough lawyers, and as it was said, Lee's division's having to share one of his civil litigators with child support. I have to beef up the enforcement officers, because, and the paralegals and enforcement officers prepare the cases, and a lot of it is guideline driven. So you punch in the numbers, and then you come up with a figure of what each parent pays for their child support.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to get at here is like, what is the true need as far as staffing? Because that 1,100 seems quite a bit. So, I mean, you know, the Attorney General is saying we need 96 attorneys. So, I mean, you know, obviously, I don't know if we can afford 96 attorneys at this time, but
Five attorneys in child support has been kind of the norm in which they've been able to manage it. So I would be looking at 5 attorneys and then supplementing it with the numbers we gave for the enforcement officers and support staff.
so every attorney gets 5 enforcement officers? Is that your ratio, or?
For every attorney, there is an enforcement officer assigned to that attorney.
Okay.
But ideally, you'd have several enforcement officers funneling the cases to that one attorney. So it'd probably be, I would think about maybe 3 to 5.
Yes,
Okay.
that's accurate.
Okay, thank you. And then the law enforcement management system that has been down. So is there funding that's needed to upgrade the system, or what was the situation with that? The being down, was it a cyber attack, or was it something else?
Guam Police Department driven. It's their records section. My understanding is they were going through an upgrade phase, and then the system collapsed for at least a week total.
Several times.
Yeah, several times.
Neil Bonavita, several times, if you don't mind. On the ground, there's been systems issues with LERMs, and to the General's point, are you able to hear me better? My throat's a little shot. Sorry about that. So yes, it appears to be leveling off. I think that the issue, though, for a period of several weeks and several times, we've not been able to retrieve the records. We've actually had to either have officers physically bring their handwritten reports rather than the digital reports that they would normally create and then fuse and then be uploaded to our offices, or in some cases have had to speak directly with police officers to get the information necessary to be able to charge. Perhaps Mr. Vandeveld would have a different view in terms of how recently.
And Senator Perez, in that backdrop, we're talking about the magistrates primarily. My team literally has 4 hours, and that's why I said they range from, like today we have 3 people arrested that have to go through a magistrate evaluation, but we have had 14, literally 14 arrests. So within 4 hours, I need to have the prosecutors, the support staff, review these documents, submit it to the court by 12 so they can make the 3 o'clock hearing. But what's worse is when you don't have the police reports by 8 a.m. ready, we literally start our day at 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning, with the staff downloading LERM's police reports, having it ready for the prosecutors to start reviewing at 8 a.m. That's the perfect world.
I was going to just add that it also, that's a significant issue, but that when LERMS is down, that is also the means in which we get information from the police department. So if the crime lab is processed and determined whether or not the drugs that have been submitted are in fact methamphetamine, and they produce a report, that has to be uploaded through LERMS. So when LERMS is down, it also continues to impact our ability to be able to manage the discovery that we're obligated to provide to the defense in these cases as well.
So that's the police department has control over that one. Okay,
Yes,
so that's something that we
Thank you,
need to
Senator.
follow up.
That's your time.
Sorry, can I just ask one
Thank you,
more
Senator.
question?
Yes, I'll allow that, but
thank
that
you.
will be your last question.
Thank you. So the criminal injuries compensation, I know I saw the budget, it basically listed the staff, but as far as the funds for compensation, how do we get that money, or how is that created? And should that be included in the budget?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It's already included in the budget. So all the salary and benefits, it's already included in the budget.
Yeah, but what we're going to give to the victims, you know, do we have an amount that we need to appropriate?
Yes. For this budget, for this FY2023, they're asking 78,000.
Was that just for personnel, though? I believe that was personnel. Or does that include the fund for
Thank you, Senator. That'll be your
compensation?
Yes.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes, that's all for the compensation.
For the victims?
For the victims, yes. The personnel is, it's part of our budget, but the 78 is only for that CICP. It's all
Thank
just
you,
for the
Senator.
victim.
Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Sorry, Attorney Vanderbilt was raising his
Well,
hand, if you
I
don't
just
mind.
wanted to point out that
You have a response, that's
sometimes
good.
the amount of money comes from the court because, for the victims, because as part of the sentence imposed upon a defendant, the court may direct that the fine or restitution go to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Fund. So there is an alternate manner by which it gets funded.
Thank you, Attorney
Thank you so
Vanderbilt.
much.
Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Moylan, thanking for all your staff and panel for being here. And all your employees that are here. I know there's no 100 employees here, but good support. I'm happy they're here to support you. Simple question. I see in your budget, I read your booklet, nice looking booklet, pretty pictures, but page 1 and page 1 and page, I guess 4?
4, Roman
Yeah,
numeral,
I'm
small
looking at
numeral.
the budget site,
Yeah.
okay? And then at the same time, I'm looking at the spreadsheet that I know you were all provided. And I'm just curious. Page 1 identifies, you basically asking for $24 million, correct? Just keeping it simple, okay?
Right.
24 million. You get the 24 million, you get your 45 attorneys, you move on. Then in the back, it says 24 million also, but when you look at the spreadsheet, it said you got 22 in 26, but really you got 26 million. Am I correct? Maybe you're.
Is this the attorneys we're talking about? 26?
No, I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm not looking at attorneys or anything. Just looking at the numbers, and we can all just follow each other. So, just make it very simple, right? And she can answer it. Your booklet says 24 million or 22 in 26, but in actuality you got funded 26, correct?
Yes, sir. This is already included the 66% of child support, the federal funding.
I'm not asking about anything. I'm just looking at the numbers, okay? I'm not asking the details of it. It says 22 on your booklet. Spreadsheet says 26. You just tell me why the $4 million difference? Just so I don't know.
Yes, sir. This is 6% of child support federal funding. So our local, there is a local, the 22 million is a local. That's what
Got
you're
it.
asking for FY
Okay.
2026. And then we have a federal match of 4 million.
Yes.
So that's equal to 26.
Okay. Then, and at the same token, you're asking them basically for 3.6 million increase, correct? Not talking about any lapse, okay? I don't hear the word lapse. We're talking about what the Attorney General is asking for. He's asking for $3.6 million more for 27. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm going to go to the, does the Attorney General's office know what it's costing the government of Guam in the executive branch or anywhere else in government of Guam? What it's costing the people of Guam to hire all these other attorneys in these other offices? Do you know the total amount? I'm just curious. Because some agencies got 3, some got 2, some got I don't know what number, but they're paying a pretty penny. And I'm just curious if we know that dollar amount. And the reason why I asked that, Attorney General, before you answer, is because when we look at the budget, we have to take a look at everybody. So we want to be able to say, if somebody has 4 or 5 attorneys, and you made that clear earlier, General Moylan, you're the legal officer. You represent the people of Guam. When somebody's hired in an agency and they want to speak as an attorney, are you a private attorney? And if you're a GovGuam attorney, who do you work for? I work for this agency. Are you the legal officer? Because I've heard this. You know, I may have came in late, but I watched YouTube the whole time you guys were talking.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, who do they represent? They're getting paid by the government of Guam. And if they're not coming from your office and they're not appointed, deputized as an attorney general, assistant attorney general, then do you know what it's costing the people of Guam?
That's correct.
I'm just curious.
It's in the millions. I can have my staff figure this out because we already know where those attorneys are at. But it's obviously it's in the millions, given the numbers that are out there. So I agree with you, and thank you for highlighting that. Who are they working for? It's usually who signed their contract, and that's usually like an EPA situation, either the director of EPA or the board that signed her contract,
But when when Attorney Miller has to get involved, you got two attorneys working same EPA.
Yeah,
Some is not matching.
Absolutely, because what happens is that you have their position represented by an attorney, then you have Mr. Miller's position, which is represented by the elected Attorney General, and if they clash, then the taxpayers are paying on both ends on
That's
the
correct.
interpretation.
And that's why I was just curious if your office knew what it's costing the people of Guam.
Thank you. It's a good question. I'll ask my staff to calculate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I only got one more question. I'm a little bit more simpler than the rest of my colleagues. And the reason why is because I dealt with the budget before.
Yes.
You're paying you're asking for $2.3 million for rental, correct? Or 2.4? Oh, wait, I'm trying, 2.3. Let me just say yes, because it's in your booklet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, has a thought ever crossed the minds in the Attorney General's office, because it had in the previous Attorney General's, thought of pursuing lease to own and stop paying rent? I mean, I'm just curious because $2.3 million can pay a building and everything where you don't have to be separated.
Absolutely.
And you own it in maybe 20 years, and then you figure out the maintenance. And I'm just curious, it hasn't been brought to the...
Thank you, Senator Augustine. The last legislature, where you were the chair of the finance area, we had a public hearing, and that building, the Justice Building,
Yes.
20 years ago, Pedro's Plaza, the Chinese guy over there wanted to talk. I think you even brought this up in the last legislature. We could pay rent for 5 years and we'd own it. I think it was actually 3 years. And then you talked also about the open lot where Department of Administration used to be, to lend lease or whatever the DOE is using right now. I agreed 100%. To this day, I still agree. We're wasting our money with rent. We shouldn't be paying this rent. But to get a office size that we need, because we're the largest law firm, we need a consolidated law office. And even now, we have to separate the two functions. 20 years ago, I brought it all into that building over there.
Yeah,
Now,
Pedro's Plaza.
Right, we're too big, we can't bring it into one building, but if we built a building, had a contract authorization from the legislature to solicit somebody to put a building together for the Department of Law, that would be the best case scenario, save the taxpayers money, create equity for our people, use the property that we already own.
Well, if not there, anywhere else.
Yes.
I'm just highly
concept.
hoping that the Attorney General's office can come up with a plan.
I have a bill.
The measurement?
I have the bill. It was sent, the proposed bill. It was sent to the last legislature. I still have it in my computer.
Resubmit
Thank
it,
you.
and if it won't move, I'll introduce it.
Thank you.
I just want to get you guys going because $2.3 million a year,
Yes.
you
It's-
probably pay a lot less on a lease to own,
Yes.
maintenance free,
Absolutely.
and you're done. I'm hoping we can do that for revenue and tax,
Right.
because they're paying almost the same amount.
Right.
And they're the office that brings in all the money. But
Thank you.
3.6 million, I mean, I got some reservation about the 3.6, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
With the chairman, we'll figure out where the money can come from. But you know, rest assured that everybody's asking for money.
100% behind.
So
we're
we'll just do-
wasting that rent.
Yes, and that could save you and give you the money.
Thank you.
And you know, as I know my colleagues were asking, where would you use the money for, whatever money you get? Honestly believe you're going to get a blank check, whatever the budget is. Maybe after the budget is passed, you brief the legislature and says, this is where we're going to spend it.
Okay.
So that we don't come back and says, I need 45 more attorneys. I'm going to say, you said that and we gave you a little bit. Did you hire at least 10? Or, you know, just brief us.
Update, yes.
Just give us an update. That's all we're asking. That's all we ever asked for. Right? And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Masi, Senator Augustine. So I just got a couple of questions and then we'll close. So who prepared the budget? Is your ASO next to you, Mr. Chair?
I did, sir.
Okay, thank you. So what is your current tracking on budgeted vacancies? How many budgeted vacancies do you currently have?
One moment, sir. We have right now 8 million.
8 million in budgeted vacancies.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, so really that's kind of where I want to cap this off. And I want to be clear that in our discussions and our ask in terms of what the budget reflected, we did not, want to be ultra clear on this, we did not have a question particularly on what the lapses were tracking and what we wanted to do on your requests going forward into the new fiscal year based on that discussion overall, because as I think we've concluded now that the actual representation is an increase. Let's just leave lapses out of it because it's either going to be a straight out appropriation in the new budget as opposed to recognizing carryover, because that's terminated for this fiscal year for sure. So, yeah. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
that's
sure.
the danger we're in, because these lawsuits that we're having to pay, we got the money in the bank, October 1 is approaching. If we don't pay it out, because DOA isn't letting us pay it out, it's going to end up as a, what is that, a lapse? It's an account payable to our books.
Yes.
And we're going to get a lawsuit. We already have one lawsuit of Mr. Vandeveld has his claim that he's probably going to file with us. There's at least 3 government claims for money that we haven't paid them because DOA doesn't want to pay us. If we get to October 1, we're going to need to pay that. So I'm going to have to make sure that we account for this moving target as we move closer to the end of the fiscal year. Because there's something unusual happening to the Attorney General's office because of the governor's DOA, okay? So,
I understand, and I'm following you, and I'm following you on the basis of, like I'm saying, our questions were the 5.9 and the 5.2 respectively from 2025 and 2026, current tracking and the current $8 million in budgeted vacancies. So the point I'm making is we're going to meet you. We're going to meet you at the place we need to meet you. The thing is that the discussion in terms of how we get towards the end of the fiscal year, follow the lapses and follow what the obligations are, is a representation of an authorized budget for 27 as opposed to continuously talking about the lapses. Because if we do that and represent that, then we will be asked by other agencies that are coming before us. We're giving everybody what we believe their budget ceiling is going to end up being. And based on their request and based on what we see in terms of what the overall budget appropriation amount is, and then divide it out into all of the respective agencies and entities. So that's why we're just trying to be clear here. Well, I understand you're up against a situation where you've got to attempt to exhaust this current tracking of lapses, get to September 30, and look at what that is. We will be watching that as well as we go through to deliberate the budget. And then when we discuss what is going to end up being the budget amount, it will be based on how it's tracking and what budget is adopted as a represented, whatever the new number is as your budget. That should account for your expenditures going forward, because even if you carried forward right now, let's just be honest, even if you just carried forward this budget right now and nothing changed between now and September 30 other than your obligations, that would total up. I don't think that's going to total $8 million. So the reality is that I just want to let everybody once again here know that what's based on your fixed costs of your salaries and benefits, if I just go through that right now and start from the top, in terms of your actual request, on your salaries and benefits, you have, if you go to your budget digest in the back, you have $12,823,000, and then you've got your overtime pegged at $5,211,000, totaling $18 million. And then, of course, your contractual, that will be below that. What I'm saying is, if you track that with your budgeted vacancies, you would have no inability to pay your people. But I understand where you're coming from in terms of what you need to do going forward. That's what I wanted to walk away from the table with today. That will all be considered, but it will be considered so that we understand each other as an increase in the budget for fiscal year 27 as opposed to carryover.
Right, so it's clean slated.
Exactly.
Don't talk about lapses, just how much do you need?
Exactly. Because that's where I actually get concerned also, because if you're already having difficulty with your ability to work with Department of Administration, whether it's coming as a directive from the governor's office or whether it's just internal, I don't know that. Only God knows the answer to that question more than likely.
I presume the new administration might be different.
Yeah, and that's another thing, and I've been telling agencies this. I mean, this is just a reality. This is not even a political statement. It's a reality of what's happening. We're discussing the fiscal year 2027 budget. That budget will only be 1 quarter of a transition between a governor's office and a legislature. We will all be in transition. And so the fact is that you have to factor, none of us know what that relationship is going to be like, what that ability to manage cash is going to be like going forward. Of course, I think we all hope for improvement, but the fact of the matter is that's also on the table. So that's why we're basically putting all of these factors into the equation at looking at what is your sustainability number, right? What is going to make sure that you can operate? You can pay your bills, you can pay your rent, you can pay your utilities, you can pay your people, and then you can get to where you need to get to in terms of your increase. Your federal match is covered. And to answer the senator's question earlier in terms of what we're doing for child support, that's going up by $2 million, and that's a great work on your guys' part, being able to realize that. And obviously that means that you're getting those benefits out, because that's why you're continuing to increase it, because there's no cap. So we'll continue to match the local on that. That only makes sense. Let's pull in as much federal money as we can by matching it with local cash. So we're on point, with basically 98% of what we're talking about here. We got to bullseye that number.
Yes.
in order to make sure that we understand where you're coming from and what your needs are. And we'll make a close watch. Like next month again, we'll
update it.
I would say work hard, but I don't know if you're being held back or what. But do your best to spend that money, because that's where the CRER is going to continue to report that. That's just a fact. That is, it's like you going into your bank statement. Every month you're going to get a bank statement, and you're going to go in there, and the wife is going to say, "What's this?" I'm sorry, no, that's a different issue. but you're gonna. It's like looking at your every month. That statement basically says, here's your account. This is what you spent last month. Here's what's in your saving. Here's what's in your checking. And so, the more you can pump the gas to get that money spent. We've been telling everybody that if you can't spend your money, that's a problem for us too. But we'll continue to work with you, General, and your team. We want to thank you all for being here this morning. I want to thank everyone who's asked their very valuable questions, and thank your office once again for the good representation and being here and understanding what your needs are going forward to be the chief legal officer of our island and carry out those duties and responsibilities to keep us safe. Thank you once again, colleagues. And with that, the budget hearing for the Attorney General's office has been heard, and we are adjourned at 11:20. Si Diyos Masi, and God bless you.